I guess it's gonna be, and we're gonna see it now. No, we're just actually gonna have a look at it while we're in the last game, because, ladies and gentlemen, we're going straight in perfectly on time into game number 6 of the day. It's obviously going to be the desert of Miramar once more. And after that amazing, probably the best day of the game, game number 5, I'm so looking forward to this.
Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is the last match for today. And we've only got 6 matches after this one being played in the day after tomorrow in group number A. Don't be discouraged though, because there is another day tomorrow, and we will have matches as well. If not group A, it is going to be group B with 18 teams. It's going to be a big contrast. I think that's as much as we can say already. It's going to be a massive contrast. Let's take a look at the overall standings though. The one result that we're all interested in is Bahrain and Mongolia. 61 points to 59. So both of these teams very close, despite Bahrain in recent games at least being significantly stronger than Mongolia has been. It's only 2 points different, but below that, it is almost 20 points, and that's the big part that we have to talk about. Kazakhstan and Jordan, as well as Uzbekistan being the runner-ups, all of these have a good opportunity to close the gap, but catching Mongolia and Bahrain, who are in the qualification spots right now, at least for today, is going to be almost impossible.
And now imagine Jordan had won that game, which they pretty much should have won and gotten another elimination and even more placement points. And I'm sorry, Uzbekistan, but Uzbekistan winning game 1 or game 2, just one of the two that they could have had, this would be so much closer. And it is definitely not done and dusted, especially if this last game now ends up with Bahrain and Mongolia once again only picking up single-digit points. Then the gap is going to be closed once more. So Tuesday is going to be important. Tuesday is going to be incredibly important. Mongolia and Bahrain will both go into Tuesday with a head start. The size of that head start will be decided right now, but it's still not going to be over, while obviously being over for Lebanon, Turkmenistan, the UAE, and most likely also for Palestine and Tajikistan if they don't make something happen right now.
Yeah, that's the point that I wanted to kind of talk about. We said that we don't expect the top teams that have performed so far. And sure, it's hard to talk about the teams that will potentially perform at the very start of it, but right now it's 5 matches in. We do have an idea of who's performed. And so far it is Bahrain and Mongolia. And we don't expect these teams, just from a historical kind of standpoint, we don't expect the teams to slow down. Teams that have dominated the start of a tournament like this, where the skill gap is very significant from the very best team to the very, I don't want to say worst team, but the less experienced teams. Like we have right now. We have some teams that have never played an international tournament, while we have some that literally just came off the very top of the scene in EMEA. And if that happens, most of the times, teams that are more experienced, if they do have a good start, that's not always the case, but if they do, like in this case, they won't stop. They will keep on performing like they have, because at this point, their game style already works, and they won't change it. And the lobby itself won't change either. So 100%. Yes, it does become very dangerous. And I think, unfortunately, at least one of the spots will probably go to Bahrain, Mongolia, even though it is very early to say. Then again, one good game, and that's the spirit of PUBG Mobile. One good game can shake up the whole leaderboard, and maybe this is going to be it.
I mean, it's gotten to a point where we talk about how, in very big quotation marks, bad a round for Bahrain and Mongolia was when they picked up 7 and 9 points, right? So it's like, it's still absolutely amazing what they are doing, and the amount of eliminations that they constantly get. They just don't have 0-point games. They just don't have it in them. Even if they face off against each other as first opponent in the game, they still pick up 7 and 9 points. So it's quite impressive. I agree. They will not both fall out. Never ever going to happen. The most likely scenario is those two teams will take the trip in the end of the year. And the second most likely scenario is one of the two following teams will just be able to just barely edge it out and surpass one of these two. But both of them? No, never.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's past the point already. The one thing I do want to see, though, And I don't care who qualifies. I want to see Kazakhstan get a win. This lineup is too talented. And I've met these guys personally, actually, on some of these events. These guys are so incredibly talented. These are such nice guys as well. I hope they're going to grab this last Miramar dinner. Anything else is a disappointment to the experience that these guys have. Axel punched up 6. And sure, it's Becca today, but even Becca has been performing massively. So, yeah. I expect him to take at least one of the rounds. Might not be this one. But if it isn't, I'm going to be disappointed anyways.
Love the zone. Let's shift our focus towards the build-up of the final game of the day. Love it. Mongolia once again, by the way. Huge split in the center of the zone. You could just see all 4 country flags perfectly aside there. Tajikistan in an early fight against an opponent that we have seen not really shying away from these fights. Nate a little bit on the shorter side. Oh! And then he actually gets taken down in this direct confrontation. Jordan, they just want this fight. They want to get these points. It's important that they don't lose anyone. We just mentioned, if they play a really good round now, oh, they're gonna lose one right away. If they play a really good round now, they actually have a chance of making it on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's a tough fight though. And Jordan really has to think about whether or not they want to commit this. We've said it before. I feel like in a best of 12 like this, don't give up your teammate. Under any and all circumstances, should you not give up your teammate. Make sure to engage this. Make sure to save him. Even if you lose a player because of it, it's still going to be better than just playing it off and playing as a 3-man onwards. So, yeah, I'm hoping that's going to happen. For now, the rest on the other side has been revived. Golden is back up on his feet. In the meanwhile, Ragnarok's still laying there. So it is a 3v4 for the time being. Does Tajikistan close the gap? It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like they want to commit too much. Maise rotating off already in the distance. And he's not grabbing another angle, I think. I think he's genuinely rotating off. That means Jordan might just get the rest back off as well. And both of these teams will find themselves back as 4-mans. And especially back without any trouble. Yeah, looks like both are gonna disengage. Just I say that though, gotta be careful. Maybe someone's peeking across the ridge line. That gives Miracle the opportunity, but no. They are smart about it, and Tajikistan doesn't give them any opportunity for another knock.
Miracle's position, while not actually used in the end, was so important here. He's basically the savior. He's the person that guarantees that Tajikistan can't get too frisky with peeking over the ridges. And while he was not needed, he would have been perfect if that had occurred. All right, now we know it. Oh, actually not rotating away. I thought he was already halfway away, but hell no, he says not. And now Ragnarok actually finds his feet with the mini. Perfect utilization of that DMR. And Jordan is actually on the right track once again, has the upper hand in this fight, has the high ground in the fight. If they have a couple of good nades or molotovs now, this might actually end up being at least one elimination. No, a second one. Very likely now with this knock straight through the smoke grenade.
That's a pretty decent grenade. Let's see if anything else comes off of it. The main fragger for Tajikistan, unfortunately, isn't anywhere close, as Leif picks up another one. And yeah, that's it. I think we didn't even get to see the 4th frag, but it must have put someone towards the western side. Maybe it was Clever actually getting the last one. But they will wipe them off clean. And Jordan, yes, we were kind of worried for them for a moment. Jordan turns it around, wins all 4 players, and find themselves now in a good spot to close the distance.
For Jordan, this feels like instant karma, basically. The team that has just destroyed them, their chances of winning a super nice dinner, catching some amazing points in game number 5, has now been taken out by them in game number 6 for very important points. And now everything is back to possible right now. I mean, Bahrain still alive, Mongolia still alive, but Jordan now closed the gap by another 4 points on them. So it's gonna be even more interesting to see the final overall leaderboard of the day, while we have to take a look at another team that is in a very similar position right now when thinking about Jordan, which is obviously Uzbekistan. Hardboy trying his best with these long distance shots, just barely missing. And therefore, I think repositioning now, Uzbekistan has had enough of this fight.
Yeah. The fact that we have two teams fighting in phase 2 in the blue zone is kind of a weird thing in and of itself, especially since we have 8 teams in this lobby. And it's Miramar. So yeah, it feels like a 1 in a million kind of scenario. But both of these teams apparently being very content with it, despite the way it's gone. Both these teams actively decided for it instead of against it. And the outcome at the moment is clear. Both of these teams weakened, and Uzbekistan especially. Now with only 3 players left alive. Mongolia sees the team that we've just seen, Jordan, and just forward up the hill in the distance, is going to pressure them back towards the blue zone. They will have to find another way, which is probably going to be down towards the south. But judging by Demo's position, even that might not be possible. So Mongolia troubling 2 teams at the same time.
I love, however, that Jordan is facing this challenge now because they just had one of the easier games that you can get in such a tournament. Yeah. They had the nicest zones possible, which is once again, I mean, if you get them, you take them. Every team would be stupid to drive away and say, no, this is way too easy. We definitely want a bigger challenge. But in this situation, I like that they have one rather easy game and one really hard game from the beginning. Because if they manage to be successful in both, that solidifies their claim for the spot in the grand final of this event later down in the year. So I love it. I'm also very surprised by how well Jordan managed to play in the games where they excelled as a team. They also had 2 really poor games. Otherwise, they would be so much higher up in the standings. But still, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they work on this challenge while we take a peek at Mongolia facing Palestine. Couple of shots in the distance.
Oh, yeah, I mean, did you really expect to hit anything there? I don't think so. Neos, though. If there's anyone in this lobby so far that you should fear, it is Neos. Once again, massive, massive shots. They're not even acting on this, which is very surprising to me, because it seems like both these players would be relatively isolated. They don't want to go for it, but yeah, I gotta highlight Neos again. I think we've talked about him enough, but he keeps on putting up these numbers, and he's probably individually at least the biggest part on why Bahrain has had such a great performance so far.
Mongolia just pressured Palestine into Bahrain. That's the worst scenario that you can have in this tournament right now. You drive away from one of the best teams and straight into the next one. Palestine somehow managed to survive with, I think, 3 players, though, because Bahrain never pulled the trigger on that shack that Palestine chose for them. That also means, however, that Palestine is now 100% dependent on the upcoming zones. 2 hard shifts away from that shack, and they will end up in 5th, 6th, maybe in the place that they are currently in 8th place. While Bahrain is... That's just crazy. I just want to see a Bahrain cam of every individual's player position on the map right now. Because they are so far away from each other. Look at the minimap. Yeah. Nobody can see his teammate on the minimap.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. It's kind of the same thing that we were talking about that Mongolia did. When they have the space to split, they do. We saw it in that Erangel game towards Pochinki. Yes, maybe it didn't really... That wasn't really anything that came out of it, but the matter of fact still stands. If they do have the space, they do. And I don't think there's a coincidence that both of these teams are at the very top of the leaderboard right now with the way they play. And this is so interesting because we both theorized maybe that's actually not the way to play this. We're going to have to wait and see whether or not splitting actually makes sense. And apparently it does, because both these teams have had pretty safe rotates into late game time and time again. So I'm excited to see that continuously being the case. This position, by the way, is one of the most... I want to say as a player, one of the most disgusting positions, because there's nothing you can do against it. And 4YDO knows this, and she shoots at everything he can.
He basically just pressured away the entire team of Kazakhstan by himself. as we're losing Turkmenistan, sadly in 8th position. That's going to seal the deal for them. It has been a super top-heavy tournament all the way along. Tuesday for them is going to be, I mean, I'm not going to count them out entirely, but without 3-1 maps, at least, they will not have a single chance. And based on everything we've seen today, I just think their team play is just not there all the way to still win it. I will be gladly proven wrong. I'm just going to say that over and over again, as Kazakhstan has actually found a pretty decent spot after being pressured away by Bahrain.
Yeah. Kazakhstan, the one hope for me, the one hope that I predicted time and time again to make something happen and still hasn't so far, at least in terms of top 3 placements. Now in a pretty good spot. They can play on foot out of this, and they should be able to play off of their strength, which is direct fighting, which is direct confrontations, which is supporting each other and fragging through these lobbies. All the sort of stuff that we haven't really seen so far, at least in the late game. And there it is, another frag on the way of Becca. Once again, the sub for this team, who's made big strides to stay in this roster for the upcoming group day as well. But the frag is not going to be secured by him. Instead, it is going to be Mongolia picking up another one.
But he couldn't have picked a better target, because in the process, Kazakhstan has actually taken down Alex of Mongolia. So they are currently, and they noticed, and so they are now on the hunt actually. They noticed that this is Mongolia. They noticed that this is the team that they have to take out in order to at least close the gap towards that second place, or maybe even close it all the way today to have the perfect start on Tuesday. They cannot follow them carelessly though. So they are stopping in their tracks for now.
Massive stuff. There we have it. The Lebanon players. 2 of these coming in from the heroic lineup. Straight off the EMEA spring. And we know how dangerous they can be. 17th place or 18th place it's been for them. Sure, it's not been the best of seasons, but they do have the experience, and that's what counts. Chazin now enters the building. Teammate on the other side. That's perfect time. Teammate goes down, though. Can he get the trade? Oh, my goodness. No, he can't. And Clever puts up one hell of a performance. Maybe even the third one player rushes in. No, it's his teammate. Excuse me on that one. And they will flush out these players together. Clever with a 1-on-2. And look at that. Things are turning around for Jordan.
Put Jordan into a good position and they will just punish everyone. Just taking down the entirety of Lebanon, not letting these last players or this last player get away. They were straight on the hunt and were very successful in doing so. Jordan with 8 eliminations, 6th position in this game already right now, with potentially more to come as they have a more or less safe rotation into that next zone. Everything's going their way since we're playing Miramar. I mean, except for the final fights, obviously, but everything else is going their way.
Bahrain, 6 teams remaining, still standing strong. Let's see if Neos can be revived. I don't think they're going for him at the moment. They know Kazakhstan is too close. At this point, I can understand, right? This is a unthinkable scenario that they're gonna get him back up, because I was you know, kind of hating on teams that let their players bleed out. But at this point, it is late game. I don't think there's any chance to get him back up, even though I think one player is now driving towards him. And that is perfect timing!
Wow.
Because Predo has now taken down Pancha. And that might be the opening they need. They will lose another player, though, and that's on the other side. So even though they might save one, they might lose another. Dangerous scenario for Kazakhstan as well as it is for Bahrain.
But that immediate re-knock was so important. Oh no, and flipping a car here is the worst position. It's the worst situation you could imagine. He actually wanted to go for the save. He wanted to go for the rest on a teammate that he will now have to actually let bleed out. So that's a free extra elimination for Kazakhstan. And that is actually most likely the fight in their hands. They could know. I think they don't know. I think they don't know that there's no other player on their southern side. They're actually sending somebody out now. Okay, they are getting proactive now, and this is the perfect timing. Oh, that vehicle flip is so bad.
Yeah, that's kind of the worst case scenario. These are the small kind of variables that you don't really have control over necessarily, and they, well, you do have control over to some degree, but they just happen once in a while, right? There's not a single team in history that hasn't had problems like this every once in a while. But in a best of 12, that can break your neck. As we see, they did find another vehicle, though, and they will make it across. Question is, Kazakhstan, can they secure this as good as they want to? Because Frieza is down. It leaves big space in between them, you can see. Can they rotate back? Can Bahrain rotate back somehow? And can Kazakhstan, as a result of that, maybe not make it down the road? Because that's what happens. If they make it across, Bahrain is in a perfect spot to gatekeep them off of that hill and entering into the city.
I don't think they're going to do it, though, because Kazakhstan is now just in a too good position. They found Frieza in the meantime, who was all the way open to Kazakhstan. Simply didn't notice that the players from Kazakhstan were already so close to him. And I think it's just over right now for Bahrain. I honestly think it's not going to be possible to make it out of this situation. And I think Kazakhstan has finally found the kryptonite of both the players of Bahrain and Mongolia, at least in this final round of the day.
For IDO, still the last one on that side. I think at this point it's just a matter of time until he gets found out as well by Kazakhstan. Even though, let's be honest, Repo has got the best kind of position you could possibly think of. It's not going to be enough to hold off 4 players from shooting at his teammates. You can see he gets into the vehicle. I think there's already a tire missing. No problem for Becca. He shoots him out. Headshot goes through. And that just leaves 1 player from Bahrain left alive. I did wish for a Kazakhstan, didn't I? said, these guys, it would almost be... It is, I'll just put it like that, it is disappointing if they wouldn't take a dinner home with this kind of lineup in the very first day. So maybe they've finally heard my prayers, because they are in a pretty good spot right now, depending on how the next circle shifts. Usually they don't necessarily end inside the city, so as long as it shifts back out and they've got enough playing space, maybe even enough vehicles, they're in a pretty good spot.
And as I just saw it in the chat, for everybody wondering why Kyrgyzstan is actually not playing in this lobby, well, this would be their lobby to play in. They're invited to the main event due to their win in 2023. So they don't have to endure all of this struggle that we're so thoughtfully enjoying today, as they will just have a direct ticket to the main event, while all of these other teams have to fight for it. Kazakhstan, can they actually finally make it? Can they find this little snake player of Bahrain here? Or will they run into their demise, where the first one will definitely do so? That was another disgusting spot, by the way. Bahrain seems to be very good at finding disgusting spots on this map.
I was thinking about whether or not Kazakhstan was going to find a better spot than what they had, but apparently they really want to make this work towards the western side. Wouldn't there be a better spot towards the south and southeastern side?
Yeah, I think so too.
I kind of feel like they got stuck chasing this last player from Bahrain.
Yes.
But honestly, I understand. I think that's all down to the fact that Bahrain is very, very high up on the leaderboard, and they knew this is their direct competition. It's only 12 matches. They need to take them out.
But on the same hand, if you take out this last player, that is 1 extra point, and that is 1 extra point. Well, there's another placement point to be had as well. So it's 2 extra points against Bahrain. And after that, I have a feeling that your game is just over, right? While on the more southern or southeastern side, I totally agree, there should be more room, and there should also be more eliminations to be found, because there are more teams that are playing through that round. So I understand that they want to have the last Bahrainian player out, but I don't think it will serve them well in this game.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's going to shift out of the city now, for the sake of all players.
Oh, he's got another one!
Oh my lord, no way. Bahrain! They make something out of absolutely nothing. And look at these shots raining in. They are so close to him. It's just 1 shot that's missing. It's just 1 single shot that is missing. And it just misses him by...
Kazakhstan is out!
Yeah, less than an inch, what feels like.
No! They also lost the last player that was already playing in the zone somehow.
That's just crazy. It's crazy. Look at how much space they would have on the southern part.
I'm so sorry for talking over you. I'm just flabbergasted right now.
No, it's
How
fine.
can that happen? They could have just taken
wanted too
down the
much.
last players of Palestine and won the game from here with like 15 eliminations. And they chose to hunt one dude with a DBS and they just lost everyone. Oh, Bahrain and Mongolia. They are both very happy to see that.
That's just gotta hurt. There's no way around this. That's gotta hurt. That's gotta sting. Especially coming from, That's coming from someone who wanted Kazakhstan to win so very desperately. But if they play like this, unfortunately, they haven't made their way into the top two deservingly just yet. So gonna have to wait and see if that changes on the day after tomorrow.
I mean, right now, I'm so happy for Kazakhstan that they actually have a day off tomorrow, because this one is going to be hard to stomach. This one's just going to be almost impossible to stomach, because they cannot analyze this in any other way than, wow, we really, really failed there. And that's just so sad to see. They had it all in their hands. There's high ground to be played on the southern side. There's a team that played a split. They are just now regrouping. You can see the green team that is Palestine as they are regrouping. This would have been a 4v2. This would have been a 4v2. And instead, they just went for the hunt and lost everyone. Oh, man, that is sad.
Yeah. The good thing is that's one of the teams they're still very much on the leaderboard. They're in a spot on the leaderboard where they can make these kind of mistakes. To some degree, because they have gathered a couple of points up until that point. If they would have gone out with 0 points here, then yes, I would have said, man, that might just be a deciding factor in whether or not they're going to qualify. But because they've played so well already, the opportunity is still very much there. I'm not too worried, but that's not a good sighting. We've seen them with easily 3 chances today throughout these 6 matches, with opportunities to win a game, and they just haven't been able to close things out. And once again, we only have 12 matches to play. So these matches are exactly why some teams qualify and are in the top 2, and where some teams are. Mongolia, for example, they took their 2 chances, and they took them very convincingly.
And on top of all of that you just said, Bahrain and Mongolia are once again both in the top 4.
Yeah.
Granted that they are both on their last player, they are once again both in the top 4. That means that Mongolia has not had a single game today that was not at least a 4th place. Which is incredible. Even with only 10 teams in the lobby. That is still incredible.
Dream has secured that southern side with the rest of his teammates. They can't move into the circle just yet, but they don't need to. They can just wait for everyone else having to make a move out of the buildings, be sitting ducks for them up on that hillside. And that's going to be one side to behold. If I wanted to be any player in any of these rounds today, I would want to be one of the players from Palestine at the moment. Up on that hillside, it's going to be free gallery. Absolutely easy for them to shoot out some of these players rotating out now. Everyone has to leave the buildings. That's where PUBG Mobile gets fun. You just sit behind the ridge lines. You have nothing to worry about. You go down. Doesn't matter. Your teammate's going to revive you. And you know you've secured the round already.
Let's take a look at the live leaderboard, in which we now have the guarantee that Jordan is actually going to finish the day on rank number 3, which is amazing. Yeah. An amazing accomplishment in this lobby. They should be very happy with themselves. Right now, Bahrain is taken out, giving a couple of extra placement points to everybody that is left. Palestine is going to take this game home. Palestine is going to take it home. I want to say from the position that Kazakhstan should have had, but I'm just going to not say it. Palestine is just going to win it here. The question is Mongolia taken out first? And the answer is yes. So Jordan gets another 2nd place. Back-to-back 2nd places for Jordan. That's probably going to leave them with somewhere around 55, 56 points.
And also regret.
And regret.
Because let's be honest, they should have won the last game. And there we have it. Ragnarok, the last player, gets spotted down. Dream has to be careful. He's completely out in the open. Actually, there might have been an opportunity for Ragnarok, depending on how well that ridge line is. Good headshot coming out from Dream, though. And ladies and gentlemen, we do have another winner, and it is the Team Jordan. It is the nation that we haven't really had.
No, it's actually Team Palestine.
Jordan, excuse me, Palestine. It is Palestine, obviously, the team that we didn't really have on our sides. I was already thinking about the overall leaderboard. Jordan is going to move up towards 3, though. But yes, Palestine obviously winning that game. 16 points, 6 eliminations, and deservingly so. They have rewarded themselves after having such a tough couple of games. These last 5 ones, they've shown us initiative, they showed us potential, and we were talking about it at the beginning of this game as well. There's one team that has shown us time and time again that they can make aggressive moves, that they can make confident moves, and that they're self-aware of where they stand in this lobby. Then it is Palestine, and they do get rewarded because of it. I'm very happy for them. That's how it should be.
It's actually amazing that you literally said, I would say 32 minutes ago, that if Palestine started taking their fights a bit more cautiously, that they might actually be able to clutch out one of these games. And the next game, they played a bit more slow-paced. They took their time. They didn't necessarily take every single fight that they had to take. And
Despite fighting in phase 1.
Yeah.
They fought in phase 1 and lost the one player they lost. If they, it's debatable whether or not they really did that. But yes, at least after that, they really took it down slow.
Yeah, and then they actually succeeded with it. Took home these 16 points. That will be so helpful. And if it weren't for the fact that Mongolia and Bahrain both went 4th and 3rd again, this would actually be a super close race right now.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, Jordan is performing. Palestine is performing. Kazakhstan is performing despite throwing away that game. Kazakhstan, for any Kazakhstan fan, I'm so sorry. I know I see lots of flags in the chat right now supporting the Kazakhstan roster. So I am, there's nothing else I can say. Maybe the players should say sorry instead of me, because that was their game. That was their opportunity. And we saw that coming from miles away, that was going to go downhill if they keep on chasing that one player. It's not that stage of the tournament yet. If that was 2 games off of, the qualification phase ending, if we had 10 matches played, that's totally fine. Go chase these guys until the end of Earth, until the end of Miramar. Go cross the border if need be. But in this case, I am not so sure.
I mean, I guess the #1 fans of Kazakhstan right now are Uzbekistan, because finally we're talking about somebody else not getting a match win that they should have gotten. So yeah, you're welcome, Uzbekistan, I guess. All right, what a day, Felix. That was such a pleasure.
Crazy.
It all started out in a way where we thought, man, this could be decided very, very early on. And I am so delighted that that is actually not the case. I'm so delighted that Tuesday is going to be so interesting. And on top of that, for everybody watching and hyped for this tournament, tomorrow is going to be a whole nother thing with a lobby that almost has twice the amount of teams that are playing today.
Yeah, simply amazing. Simply amazing. Is that his second match MVP?
Is this the same one as last game, or did he no, they got taken out right away. This cannot be the correct graphic, because Tajikistan got 0 eliminations in that game. So that must have been the same one of last game.
But I appreciate him being shown twice, because I think that's kind of the highlight of his career so
he
far.
Was amazing.
You did play amazing round, and honestly, I'm down for replaying that 1v2 clash as well. I mean, that was kind of the craziest thing we've seen today, and we've seen lots of crazy stuff. So exciting games. While we sort out the statistics, quick information for you guys at home. Once again, we are getting right back into action. That is tomorrow. Tomorrow, Group B is starting. 18 teams. That is different. We had 10 today. We have 18 tomorrow. So that is completely different. We're going to see lots of chaos in the beginning of the rounds. We're going to see probably, I'm going to actually say 99% sure. We're going to see lots of contests as well. So the early phases are going to be exciting as well. And that means for you guys, tune in to the next 18 nations that are going to battle it out for the next 3 spots in Group B tomorrow and throughout the next 3 days in total.
I mean, imagine how Sanok was with 10 teams, right? And now imagine 8 on top of that. That's going to be fun. I'm definitely going to tune in to listen to you and Kovo. But let's first have a look at Clever, the actual MVP of the final match of the day. In their back-to-back second places, Jordan has actually proven that they are a strong contender for the top 2 spots in this Group A in our wonderful qualifier. And Clever has actually shown that out of the Jordanian players, he was the strongest one in the final round of the day. 5 total eliminations for him. That means that he got a couple of very important points for his team. But he was actually the first one to be eliminated. That moment that we saw of him right in the middle of El Pozo, where he 1v2, there should have been Lebanon, I think. That was just amazing. That was just amazing, and very well-deserved MVP title for that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. It's just overall a great job coming out from both of these players. You can see Dream here being on the other side of it. 2 eliminations, 276 damage. At least he hasn't really stolen anything, but survival time is quite different, to be honest. Jordan, on the other hand, well, Clever, I should say, did go out relatively early, but he did make 5 points for Jordan, which ultimately was one of the points that was needed to bump them up towards the 3rd place, at least so we think. We're going to take a look at the overall standings in a matter of minutes. So, ultimately, what does that come down to tomorrow? Mongolia and Bahrain will probably still be in 1st, 2nd. Yes. But Kazakhstan, Jordan, and Uzbekistan have an opportunity to catch up. Is that correct? Palestine, actually, now, more than Uzbekistan, right?
I would say that is probably the case. So the number 1 team in pursuit is going to be Jordan, 100%. No way around it. Let's first have a look at Palestine against Jordan, the 2 teams that battled it out for the win in the end. Granted, it wasn't a real battle. The last player of Jordan simply had no chance in a 1v3. But still, Palestine with 6 eliminations versus the 9 of Jordan. Almost all of them. No, that's actually not true. 4 of them quickly won against Tajikistan in the very beginning. And then 5 more eliminations picked up in the end in the big city of El Pozo. So they started out strong and ended strong once again. Jordan actually 2 second places and a dinner today. So very, very well played. But Palestine, they actually promoted themselves into a contender in the very end of the day. Half the damage, by the way, of Jordan.
Yeah, half the damage. But still grabbing 6 eliminations, and once again, that was so needed for Jordan, as you said. Let's take a look at these match summary statistics. 132 nades, kind of the average that we've seen so far. 33 total items, that makes total Zens, and 12 headshots. Not a single player was shot out of the vehicle. I think that is a good indication of how this zone really showed us that maybe vehicle rotations very early on weren't really needed anymore. I think everyone except even Jordan knew relatively early on where this was going to go. It was going to go either inside the city or towards the outskirts of it, and that's why we saw so many teams fighting towards that southern part of it as well. Good riddance, by the way, once again. Good stuff coming out from Mongolia. I quickly want to touch on. We saw someone in the chat debating about it as well. That split from up the hill through the complete west side. Almost, I want to say almost, worked out perfectly. If they wouldn't have lost the players here and there, they could have denied anyone else from taking any kind of position in the ridgeline. If they would have even had 2 players up there, I think that even would have been enough to kind of harass even a squad of 4. And if that would have happened, I don't think anyone else could have rotated in. Not Kazakhstan, not Bahrain, not anyone. So I think Mongolia kind of threw it away to a tiny degree as well.
If you are hyped about the intricacies of strategic play in PUBG Mobile, I just want to challenge you to simply only look at the freeze frames of every single zone-to-zone shift in games 1 to 6 today, and just have a look at Bahrain and at Mongolia and compare their positioning to everybody else. It is so different. It's incredible how much area they cover the entire time, and that was no different in that last game. Whenever they can take another 200 meters, they take it. Whenever they don't have to play condensed in one position, but rather can hold multiple positions, they do it. And on top of that, they so rarely lose players in that process, which makes them so good. And it is not a big surprise that they are once again in 3rd and 5th position in this lobby. But the big winners, obviously, are Palestine with 16 and Jordan with 15 points.
Yeah, no, absolutely no surprise. Once again, massive congrats to Palestine. 16 points, 15 points to Jordan. That was kind of a tiebreaker they needed. I didn't expect Jordan to perform that well again. You did at the very beginning, but then after the first initial confrontation, I think you kind of doubted yourself as well. And then they somehow brought it back. That was such an interesting fight against Tajikistan, by the way. Both of these teams clashing early on. I thought it was surely going to result in a 4-on-4 fight, but none of these teams, instead of setting any players close, none of these teams actually went for the straight-up confrontation. They all just said, hey, wait. Let our player crawl back. I've got the angle on him. We just get him back up and we leave. And that's what both of these teams did. That's a very rare thing to see. So it worked out for them. Unfortunately for Tajikistan, it worked out a little bit less than for Jordan, obviously. 0 points as opposed to 15. But that's obviously due to the fact that they did play relatively aggressively on that eastern side. So good thing for them. We will take a look at the overall standings before we head into the next 6 games tomorrow with Group B. Overall standings there we have it. Bahrain starting the overall leaderboard with 68 points. Mongolia with 67 points. Both of these teams absolutely dominant performance today. They are the teams to watch for the next Group A match day. And obviously we do have to say as well, the difference is quite substantial. Do be reminded, Group A, this is Group A, 10 teams, only 2 were qualified for the World Esports Championship, so the top 2 will go to Riyadh at the end of the year.
Jordan is on the hunt. 11 points gap to Mongolia, 12 points gap to Bahrain. So that means both of these teams could technically be caught by Jordan. But then there's another 6-point gap. And obviously, 11, 12, and 6 points, it's not too much. But look at the point average of Bahrain and Mongolia and think about how likely it is that they will stop getting at least 6, 7, or 8 points per game again on Tuesday. And then think about how big the average amount of points would have to be that Jordan would have to get. They would have to get 11, 12 points on average per game. And then think about how likely that is. And I think it's possible. Yeah. But then think about how likely that is with Kazakhstan, Palestine, and Uzbekistan, which are, in my eyes, the only other 3 nations that even have a slight chance to make it. And pretty much only if either Bahrain or Mongolia start out super weak into the Tuesday and maybe get a couple of very low 1-digit point rounds with like 0 to 4 points. And they would not only need to have one of them, they would need 2 of them in order for Palestine and Uzbekistan to catch them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's going to be really, really tough. The more we go deep into the tournament, the more even a single point also means. And that's also why I think a 10-11 point difference right now, especially if 2 teams have that difference, is not to be underestimated. For you to catch one team is one thing, but then to catch the other one to be absolutely safe is almost impossible. One of these 2 teams, if we've learned anything from today, is going to perform. So that's what makes this so hard. Props to Palestine and Jordan, in my opinion. These were the 2 underdogs I want to say that are currently in contention. I kind of want to say Uzbekistan as well, but especially Palestine and Jordan. These 2 teams, I didn't expect to be in the top 5. Gotta be honest, I didn't expect to be in the top 5, but they have convinced me. That it wasn't luck. It wasn't circle luck. It was straight up initiative. It was straight up amazing fighting. And it was good team play. So I'm excited to see. Honestly, I could... if Palestine, for example, especially Palestine, if they have another good game to start things off the day after tomorrow, man, I could see them qualifying even over Bahrain or Mongolia. Honestly, they've showed more consistency and more willingness, more fearlessness than Mongolia in the last 4 games.
And on top of that, it's so fun watching them. It's so fun watching their playstyle. It's one of those teams where you're happy when they have a good game because they just gift you with these amazing moments that are amazing to watch and amazing to follow. It's not that these points come their way, it's that they are sprinting towards the points. Sometimes to their own demise, you have to say, you must admit, but sometimes also very successfully. Everyone, it has been an amazing day. We've had the best start, the best intro into this tournament. For myself, this is going to be the only day that you will be seeing me. From tomorrow on, Kovo will be back to bring you the action together with Falex. So I want to start by saying out that I'm super thankful to have jumped into this broadcast today. It was a huge pleasure, Falex, as always. Casting with you is great. And seeing how incredibly positive the chat was, that was just fun. Also, thank you to everyone behind the curtains for basically hitting the time plan on the mark again and again and again. That's so amazing. That pretty much shows how amazing the management behind this is. So thank you so much, and I wish you all the best tournament ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think there's much for me to add. Do tune in tomorrow. We have Group B, 18 teams battled out. If you thought today was chaos, if you thought today's 1v2 that was being won by absolute underdogs was not crazy enough, then be prepared for tomorrow. Be prepared for tomorrow. 18 teams, Group B, top 3 will go to the World Esports Championship from IESF in Riyadh later this year. And that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see each other tomorrow.